Hi everybody, I just wanted to come on in here and give you a brief message. Excuse my voice. I was just, doing regular stuff, washing the dishes, and I started to think about a very special person in my life that passed away many years ago. And he was my teacher. He was an art teacher, actually. Well, he wasn't really an art teacher. He was just a very good artist, a painter, and he specialized in printmaking and I don't know how you call that in English, but aquatinta and aquaforte. All the process that you do to copper or zinc plate, and then you print with it. It was an art that was used by Albert Dürer and Goya and all the great artists. And there are many ways to do this type of work. It's kind of like painting, but with different materials and a completely different approach, and it's very technical and very magical and beautiful. And it requires a lot of discipline and perfectionism. And I was thinking about my teacher because I remember when he was going to pass, he had diabetes, and when I went to work with him, I was very young. I was about 18, and he found me waitressing at a restaurant. It was an Italian restaurant in this new town where I had just moved to a new city. And I was just painting and going to work every day to this restaurant where they paid me like nothing to be there 8 hours, and usually the restaurant was empty. And then it became very famous, and now it's a very great place. But back then there had just been a crisis in the city, and lots of businesses had closed, and the economy was really bad. So being a waitress at a restaurant wasn't the best at that time. But for me, it was perfect. I wanted to be there just to experience. And one day, this artist came in, and he was at my restaurant. Well, at the restaurant, and he asked me like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, well, I'm an artist and I work here. I'm a waitress." And he was like, "If you're an artist, then why don't you come by to my studio and I will teach you how to do etching." Oh, the word came back, etching. And to print, and you can become a printer. I need printers, and if you're a printer, I can pay you this and this. And I was like, okay, fine. So I quit my job that day. I went to work with him for the next few months, and I dove right in. He didn't even tell me what to do. I had no idea, and there were many people working at this very small studio, and everybody worked in pairs to work better. And almost all of the people there were men. I think there was just like 1 or 2 women. And I was remembering my teacher because after we did the work and everybody went home, I usually stayed a little longer as he painted, and he would ask me to read poetry to him because I used to write poetry, and I still do write poetry, but back then I did it like a lot. It was part of the way that I expressed myself in that time. So we spent the afternoons just in silence, well, he in silence and me reading my poetry to him and correcting it and then writing. And I was just thinking about that very, very calm afternoon and the sunset in the city that is so beautiful, and just like the cool breeze coming in, the big windows where the studio was that were right they view down the street. And I was just thinking how I miss that that quiet sharing. You know, there is a way of this very beautiful, intimate way of sharing things, and I think because of who I am and all the tasks maybe, or the mission that I was given, and a lot of the spiritual work has required me to be alone most of the time, or to be a very introspective person and to have a lot of alone time. So for me, the moments that I have shared with people in my life, even if they were a brief moment, even if it was just like 10 minutes or half an hour on that, you know, in that afternoon, like when I was there with my teacher, I cherish them so much. And the reason that I'm talking about this is because many times we don't take the time or the space to cherish a moment of silence, and even more a moment of shared silence, shared peace, shared calm. Like, when was the last time, if you think about it now, when was the last time that you shared peace with someone else? That you looked into somebody's eyes and you just felt at peace, that you just felt home or held. And not by the words or the actions, just by the pure being. Just you being you and them being them, and sharing that moment in space and time. So as I was washing the dishes, I was remembering those moments that I shared with my teacher. And my heart just filled with joy. And that's why I started crying. It's not a cry of anything else. It was just this pure joy and this pure peace that even that moment, such a long time ago, brought me there again. And so when we are in the spiritual path, as I always say, we become more sensitive to many things. And I know many of you, become hermits or more introspective as well. And we go through phases. We adjust, especially if we go through the dark night of the soul, how they call it, or those experiences of huge and rapid transformation. And so the time that we spend with people, because we become more conscious of what we do, we consciously decide who we spend time with, right? And what we give our time and attention to. Especially when you become of service and when you are on mission. It's not like you're in a hurry, but it's like you're not really stopping at any point. You're given the next step and the next and the next and the next. And that is a blessing to receive that kind of guidance. And it also makes things change. You know, the worth of things, the things that we value, that we share, that we cherish, this tends to shift dramatically for some and gradually for others. For me, because I started to become a teacher as I was a student, and a student as a teacher, but I started to really come into the role of being a teacher, at least of myself first. And then I started sharing with others. But that process and that willingness to find and to create and to discover self-mastery, it made my journey kind of speed up tremendously and expand. But also in that, there were of course many things that I left behind from my old life, and some have returned, some haven't. I talked about this a little bit in another video, and I will talk more about it also in the future. But there are things that we do give up because they just don't have the same worth if we compare it to the next step that we're guided to take. So when we begin living in the moment, in the present, it requires our full attention, and it requires our full understanding. And just like when we're in the presence of another, many people don't really pay too much attention because we're used to being around people. But after some time of being alone, if you come out of a period of being in that state of like being a hermit, or just being by yourself and really learning what it means to be by yourself and really achieving self-mastery in yourself, that requires a lot of alone time. And when we come out of a period like this, even the smallest interaction has a huge meaning, has a completely different meaning. So for me, when I came out of that phase of a cocoon of incubation, or how I like to call it, grace period, I thought, while I was going through it, I thought, I'm going to be alone forever, and I'm not going to see people anymore. Or, I used to think I was never going to come out of it, or that I wasn't going to be able to function normally with all the interactions and with all the stimuli and with everything, because of my sensitivity, of course. But gradually I learned how to do this, and I also received a lot of teachings, and some things I learned as I went, and some things was just trial and error, and others I learned quite dramatically, like we all do. But coming out of that, and even until this moment, every single interaction that I have with another human being, or even with animals, even if a bird comes flying to my window, or if I see a spider somewhere, any interaction with anything, I'm just able to see it, or a part of me just sees it in a more profound way. And maybe it's a lot simpler than our sense of reality, because in our sense of reality, when we're not really present in the moment, things seem very vague and very out there and very complicated and very intricate. But when we come to this divine understanding and we have this higher consciousness, we have this perspective activated within us, and when we live in the now, everything becomes very simple. Everything simplifies. Even the future, even the past, the to-do lists, all of the mundane, all of the human things, and even the spiritual things, even reflection, even philosophy, even religion, even anything that can fit into our mental body or how we reflect upon ourselves and upon the world. Everything can be simplified and brought into oneness. So when I have interactions now, they just have a different dimension behind them. I understand and I see the human part, but I also understand and see the spiritual aspect of that interaction, of that communication, of that look, of that glance, even if it's a very, very brief thing. And it's beautiful because it's something that we can all do. You don't have to be aware that you are extra sensitive, or you can start to develop that sensibility, but you can also just set the intention to see beyond the 3D when you interact with someone, or to just be in the presence of someone and to allow them to just be. And it's so beautiful when we see people that way. It doesn't matter how they are, who they are, what they have done, what people think about them, where they come from, what they think about you, all of that melts and you just dissolve into the one. The one love, the one heart, the one peace. And I'm not saying, I'm not coming from a shallow concept of, we're all love and light and peace and love and all that, which was pretty cool when it happened, that whole movement. But this is more of a profound recognition of yourself and the other, and the freedom of expression of that light that we are, seeing how the same light expresses so differently in someone else, and how we're actually exchanging information, experiences, thoughts, emotions. We're sharing the air that we breathe, we're sharing particles, and everything that is energy has information. And the basis of everything is consciousness. So we're sharing consciousness with another, whether we're conscious about it or not. So we can choose to see beyond our limitations, beyond what we think about someone, even if we know them for years, even if we know exactly who they are, even if our own sensitivity allows us to perceive the way that they are or aren't, or what they're going to do or not do. But we can also choose to just be in the present moment and allow them to be, embrace them and embrace ourselves and just being. And so many times you will see that when you do this, that person or that soul, that individual, will show you their light, whether through their eyes or through something they say. It's like forgiving them. And as we forgive them, we forgive ourselves. And not forgiving them for anything bad that they did. Just forgiving through the human perspective whatever we would judge or perceive as not perfect or as not light of them. Forgiving them. And forgiving yourself. Because as you forgive them, you're forgiving an aspect of yourself too. And vice versa. So human interaction is so precious. And of course, today, because of the way that we communicate, it's becoming faster. And in a way, the way that I see it, everything with internet and, being there but not being there, all of that which a couple of years ago seemed impossible, that is also creating and allowing us to discover concepts that were long lost, like telepathy. So many people are starting to awaken their gifts of telepathy, for example, which is something that has been done always in humanity and, in some tribes. And I always used telepathy with my brother who has condition, and he's not able to express himself correctly, not correctly, so he doesn't express himself in the way that we express ourselves. So since we were kids, since we were little, we developed this thing. And he actually communicates to everybody telepathically, but not everybody is receptive of that. There is a good antenna for that kind of communication. Maybe they sense it somewhere in their being, but not consciously. And so these types of things are going to start happening more and more as we go into this new age, into this new era, this new time. So that is why many people are going to start looking for answers. Many people are going to start going to the light workers and the healers to understand and to have a broader perspective of science, of the medical field, of their conditions, their illnesses. The way that I see it, everything is complementary. Everything is a piece of everything. And the more open we are to everything and to exploring and to redefining, reliving, giving second chances, even to things, people, places, and it doesn't mean that you have to, forgive everybody and go right back into a relationship with them if that relationship wasn't healthy, or, if you need distance, because there are relationships that need distance sometimes, and they need maybe years of distance in order to heal. And there are some that need closeness, and there are some that need certain approach and certain time. And I'm talking about all kinds of relationships. But I would say give yourself the opportunity to see things with new eyes every day. Just see people, even the people that you know to the core. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Give your day the benefit of the doubt, that it may surprise you and be filled with magic and power. And give yourself the benefit of the doubt, that you know already so much more than you think. And that you have the pure consciousness, pure light running through you all the time. And the only thing you need to do to access that and to access that peace is to go within, to go inside of yourself, to create your own cave within yourself, or your own temple, or your own garden, and that place where you go that is sacred within you, and where you commune with you, with everything you are in one moment. And of course, if you share or have shared those moments of peace and love, and just truly seeing the presence of God in someone else, or right being together. You know, that moment with my teacher, it had nothing to do with something that we would call today like spirituality, but it was those were all spiritual moments. There were moments of communion, of sacredness. It doesn't matter how quote-unquote spiritual you are, or if you are in a spiritual path or not. That's when the journey begins and we start to become more aware of things. But wherever you are on your journey, in whatever stage and whatever process, try to just be. Give yourself the chance to just be. Whether alone or with someone. And cherish that. Because those moments, they are eternal. And they can carry you forward in so many ways throughout your life. So let's cherish the small things, the brief encounters, the love that we have shared or felt for someone. Anytime that love looked at us in the eyes, and anytime that we looked at someone as love, that we gave a gesture, that we maybe caressed a hand or put a hand on a shoulder. And cherish that. Take that into your heart as a balsam, as a cure for all the pain. And if you want, you can share it with the world. Just energetically saying, may this feeling of peace and love, may love stir back at everyone on this planet. Every person, every being. And may I look at everyone with love, as love. Because that's what we are, in our core. Okay, guys. So I love you all so much. And I will talk to you soon. Okay? And for anyone wanting to join us in our next Brave cycle, Brave is my program for healers and light workers who are ready to step up into service and start serving others, start healing, start treating, or to just offer their light to others, their communities, and to be prepared for that. So it's a very intensive program. It's very profound, and I try to share a lot of my own experiences and a lot of knowledge that I have accumulated through time, through my own experience, through others' experiences, through spiritual teachings, through meditation, through healing, but also through a lot of practical approaches so that you're able to start serving your mission, your purpose. If you feel like you're meant to help others here, you feel that love for the world, no matter how it looks like on the outside. If you're here to share your light, want to discover your light more profoundly and to really anchor it in yourself, then let me know, okay? And I will send you an application so that you can be part of the program. And it starts soon, so I will leave the information below. Okay? I love you all so much, and I hope this message reaches whoever it's meant to reach. From my heart to yours.